All right, just like I promised, we're going to pick up on this national bank issue. And it does cause problems, even very early in Washington's administration. So Hamilton asked Congress to create this national bank for good reasons. The bank is going to hold the government funds because you have to have some place to put this money that the government's collecting. And it's going to have a single form of money because up to this point, the states are all sort of printing their own money. So every state's money is a little bit different, and that's not a good idea. And the bank is going to use the money for good purposes, to make loans to help start small businesses. And we want that. We want the new country to start small businesses. Madison and Jefferson both opposed this national bank in a huge way, and I'm going to show you a really good video clip about this in class. They think that this bank is only for rich people. And they also, and very importantly, notice I have it in giant, huge letters, they argue that since there's no bank mentioned in the Constitution, that Congress has no authority to start a bank. And Hamilton says, oh yes, I can, because of, as you see down here at the bottom, what do we call this? We call this the elastic clause, or the necessary and proper clause. Hamilton says that Congress can create a bank because it's necessary and proper for the functioning of the country to have this thing. So there are two correct viewpoints here. There's no one that's really completely wrong, and there's no one that's completely right here. All right, so let's talk about the tariffs and taxes that Hamilton's proposing in his plan. And again, this is going to be important as to the reasons that we have political parties forming. Hamilton believes the new nation's economy should be based on manufacturing and trade. And so that's what he's encouraging. And so he's going to foster this type of economy by having protective tariffs. Again, doesn't this sound an awful lot like what was going on before the Revolution with the tariffs, all right? So they're going to be protective tariffs, high taxes on imported goods, all right? Because they don't want the Americans to get things from England. They want the Americans to buy American. They want them to buy American-made goods. All right, so again, the last bullet point is going to encourage the growth of American manufacturing. So instead of buying your dining room furniture from England, we're going to encourage manufacturing of dining room furniture in America and encourage you to buy American dining room furniture. Later on, I'm going to explain why this isn't as easy as it sounds, especially if you live in the South. So there's reasons it sounds really good and it sounds really simple and easy, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Again, so this is kind of getting into that. The South doesn't have as many industries, and it imports a lot of its finished goods from Europe. The South doesn't like this tariff at all for that reason. And there's also some other things that come up later on. But again, they trade more heavily with Europe as far as finished goods than the North does. So Congress doesn't put high tariffs on things. It's just low tariffs, but still, taxes are taxes, and people, sometimes they don't like that. Hamilton also believes that the government has the right to impose taxes directly on the people, so to help pay for the debt. So remember, we talked about this. So tariffs are taxes on things. You can choose to buy or not to buy, and if you don't buy them, you're not paying the taxes. But taxes directly on people are different. So that would tax everyone, all right? And so Congress approves several of these taxes, including a tax on whiskey. That's what we call a consumption tax. So if you buy this thing, you're going to tax it. Now, this is going to cause a huge problem. It seems like, well, it shouldn't be that much of a problem, Mrs. Butts. You just don't buy the whiskey, and it's not that big of a deal, and people shouldn't be drinking anyway. So why is this a huge problem? Well, it becomes a giant, huge problem and something that's going to cause a rebellion, and I'll tell you why. Jefferson and Madison still don't think that Hamilton had the power to do all of this, and they're putting up a big fuss about it. But President Washington backs his new Secretary of the Treasury. Jefferson and Madison begin to organize opposition to Hamilton and his policies, and this is what causes parties to form. Now, I'm going to go back a frame, okay? So hang in here with me. I'm going backwards. Okay, let's talk about this tax on whiskey. We're going to talk about this in future chapters, but I want to set this up for you. What happens is this, and we're going to talk about this again in future, but I want you to understand why this is a problem. People who are farmers who farm grain, all right, corn especially, which is what's turned into whiskey, or rye is turned into whiskey. They are farming in the western areas. Now, envision corn is transported by wagon, but it spoils easily. So you can't, or by boat, whatever. You can't transport that crop very easily to market. But if you can distill that crop down into a liquid and transport it and then sell it, you can do better making money. And so that's why people did it. People, instead of trying to get their corn crop from, I don't know, Western Pennsylvania over to Philadelphia, they would then distill their crop down into alcohol and then move it, in a liquid form. I know that sounds crazy, but move it in a liquid form over to Philadelphia to sell it in a liquid form. And so this is why this tax hit the farmers especially hard, and we're going to come up to a problem in Washington's presidency because of this. Okay, so now I'm going to go back forward again, so hang here with me. All right, again, so these two people, Jefferson and Madison, are fighting pretty hard against Hamilton, and it's going to cause issues in Washington's presidency. And I'm going to leave it stop there, so I told you this would be short.